I'm Adam Leech at the Leechpit, and today we're going to talk about formats. You may be wondering how many formats there are, and the answer to that is far too many to count. Recorded music began in the late 1800s and into the early 1900s with such oddities as recorded wax cylinders, which quickly transitioned to the flat shellac disc that looks like modern records today. These early formats of records are known as 78 RPM recordings, or just 78s, and originally came in both 12-inch and the more common 10-inch sizes. Most of these records are not particularly collectible, as the music is no longer considered popular. Operas, orchestras, foxtrots, and waltzes. In the late 20s and 30s, they began producing what were known as race records, an off-color term to describe jazz and blues music, which is incredibly collectible and some of the most valuable records today. The LP, as we know it today, was invented around 1949 and quickly replaced the brittle and fragile 78 RPM record. And by the 1950s, the LP, or 33 RPM record, became the dominant format. It's also around this time that they started releasing both the 45 RPM and the EP record, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the differences. So 45 RPM records are the little record with the big hole. 45 RPM records, generally speaking, have one song on each side of the record and spin at 45 RPM. They're about 7 inches tall, but they should not be confused with an EP or a 7-inch. 45s were originally released either with a picture sleeve or just in a generic paper sleeve, sometimes even stamped with the name of the distributor, or just a generic sleeve with the logos of the record label itself. They originally gained popularity both with the record labels because they were cheap and quick to produce, and with the record buyers because they could retail for as little as 98 cents or cheaper. They're also widely popular with the industry because there were millions of jukeboxes in bars, restaurants, and roller rinks all around the country. 45 RPMs are also easily confused with the 45 RPM EP, also coming out and being popular in the 1950s, which can be differentiated from the 45 by how many songs are on the record. This Elvis record features 2 songs per side. 45s continued to be popular through the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s, when most were released with picture sleeves and were popular with teenagers. Somewhere in the late 70s and early 80s, the popular 45 RPM record, the small record with the big hole, became what is known as the 7-inch record, which is the small record with the small hole. These can spin either at 45 RPM or 33 RPM like the LP, but are distinct from 45s because of the picture sleeve, multiple songs on each side sometimes, and the little hole. So how many formats could there possibly be? 78, 45, EP, LP, 7-inch, 10-inch, picture disc, box set, reel-to-reel tape, 8-track tapes, cassette tapes, singles, flexis, iPods, colored vinyl, die-cut picture disc, imports, promos, 12-inch promo, white label radio promos, super deluxe over-the-top subscription edition, bootlegs, import bootleg, the colored vinyl, 33 LP colored import bootleg. And a word to the wise, don't be fooled by the laser disc. So as you can see, it can get pretty complicated, but for the most part, most collectors will be focused on 7-inch or LP, the little record with the big hole, or the big record with the little hole. And the big takeaway here, if you remember nothing else, is that 7-inch, 10-inch, and 12-inch refer to the record size. 33, 45, and 78 refer to how fast it spins. And when you see 180 grams, That just means it's an extra heavy, thick record. That concludes our discussion on record formats. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, be sure to like it and share it with your friends, and stay tuned for our next video, how to properly handle and store your records. I'm Adam Leech, and remember, the plural of vinyl is Leechpit.